Hello, welcome back to Breakfast Central. Fresh controversies brewing ahead of the 2027 elections over the reported inclusion of the chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service, Mr. Zacch Adedeji, in President Bola Tinubu's re-election campaign structure. The development has drawn criticism from both opposition figures, and former Senator Dino Melaye reportedly heading to court to challenge the appointment and raise questions about the involvement of a serving public official and head of a major revenue-generating agency in partisan political activities.
While supporters may argue that political participation is a constitutional right, critics are questioning whether such involvement could affect public perception of neutrality and independence of government agencies. The controversy is now opening a wider debate about the line between public service and partisan politics as Nigeria moves closer to 2027. Joining us as we discuss this is legal practitioner and national development advocate. We have him here. Jide Ologun joins us here this very interesting Monday morning. Thank you so much for making it here on a Monday morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, all right. So we can reel out some names. We have the boss of Nigeria's revenue service. We also have some names that netizens, Nigerians in general, are reacting to. Names such as the embattled Betta Edu, who was allegedly sacked for having diverted the sum of 585 million naira to personal accounts.
There's also the
we also
DG
have
of NIMS.
Ngozi. Yes, we also have Ngozi
Ojeme,
a former, person of the NSTF. NSTTF.
NSITF.
NSITF, I beg your pardon. NSITF. She was also found for financial misconduct. And the list goes on and on and on.
There's
and
also
then you have
the current Minister of Defense. Yes.
current Minister of Defense as
General
well.
Christopher Musa, retired.
Yes. Well, we can go on. You also have two former battled governors who had served their term, and they came out from, serving their term. Yet they've also been listed. Absolutely. What do you make of this?
Thank you very much. You see, we are going round a circle because the first thing that came to my mind was what the president himself went through towards 2023 elections when CBN suddenly decided to change the currency and different kinds of battles. And one would have expected that given the response from the stakeholders there, particularly touching on credibility, because credibility simply means the trust rating of a process. I think we should have gone beyond that. And again, talking about the involvement of some of these appointees, the argument is always that, oh, they are not public servants. They are political appointees. But if you consider Section 84 of the Electoral Act as amended in 2022, it specifically states that political appointees who intend to be delegates at the primaries of parties or, seek office should resign, I think about 30 days before that exercise. And that was why the likes of Amechi had to resign and, Dr. Chris Ngige, even though they never made it at the primaries level. But my concern now, I am dropping on the table of the National Assembly because Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended states clearly that the National Assembly is mandated to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria. And the debate that has been prompted by this recent revelation is a test of orderliness in the country. But again, some will argue, by virtue of Section 66 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that yes, a public servant that wants to get involved in elections should resign before doing that. And some are now saying Adedeji is not in the public service. He's a political appointee. And we are not talking about primaries of the parties now. And these are things we call lacuna. So it's a function of the law, because for those who are, even when that Section 84, received that powerful amendment, a lawyer rushed to court I think in here to state that that amendment was a nullity, in line with the fundamental human rights that we have in the Constitution, and making reference to Section 1(3) of the Nigerian Constitution 1919 as amended, that says any enactment that runs contrary to the provisions of the Constitution, it cannot stand. But it did not, even though the Honorable Justice Evelyn declared it as a nullity, they proceeded to test it, and that is why Ngige had to resign. And so we need to concretize our laws in this country and prevent all these arguments. And I think on the scale of credibility, this list is out now. Personally, I'm still waiting for denials and to say, oh, this list is not the authentic one, and somebody just disclosed it. But if the party is bold to proceed with it, the scale of trust will be shaken. Because you mentioned the case of Ngozi Olejeme.
Yeah.
Okay, some are just reading that she's involved in an allegation involving about 1 billion, that of Zacch Adedeji. Even before now, I think in year 1907, is it? No, 1997 or thereabout, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, appointed one Dr. Okoli to go and revamp the NSITF. And the man resumed. And 2 years down the line, Olejeme was the chairman of that body. They came up with allegations against Dr. Okoli and sent him on indefinite suspension without investigation. Because I teach it in employment law, and I'm very... I like that. And Dr. Okoli went to court. And at a point in time, they all had to settle out of court because the matter was now pushed to the police. I think Onovo was the IG then. And the police investigations came out with a report that there was nothing like those allegations against Dr. Okoli.
Wow.
Like some wicked people just concocted within and outside the system to push him out. So he got all his benefits and everything, though he was not reinstated. You see, so we should touch on the characters of people that flock around leadership. But again, if you look at Section 36, sub 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, I think it's a turbulent provision we have.
Very.
In that Constitution.
Yes.
That says that
presumption of innocence.
In a criminal matter, allegations must be proved beyond all reasonable doubt. Otherwise, the defendant is presumed to be innocent. And towards 2015 election, APC promised that the burden of proof will shift from the prosecutor to the defendant. But has that been implemented?
I doubt it.
And that is why I like to refer to the case of the former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, who was investigated while in office. Some findings were put together by EFCC. He was even the one that drove himself to EFCC after coming out of the immunity provided by Section 308 of our Constitution. And the matter went on in court for about 6 years and was thrown out for lack of diligent prosecution. So we have issues, and that is why some may not be able to say, Olejeme is this, Betta Edu. In the case of Betta Edu, it was not denied that about 585 million or thereabout got transferred to private account and things like that. But she was never prosecuted for it. And what the spirit of that constitution is saying is that unless somebody is convicted for a crime,
court of law, yeah,
then you cannot. And that is also the provision in Section 66.
And that's why...
Yeah, but
Nigerian
morally,
Constitution.
and looking at the mood of the nation and your own, the party's perceived fight against corruption, isn't this just merely by association an indictment on them?
I think this has gone beyond party. You see, my counsel is that if we want to fix Nigeria, let's do what is right. In fact, the word of God says righteousness exalts a nation. Because when you make reference to parties, in Nigeria now, party boundaries are breaking down. Adeleke just won in Accord. He went to present a certificate to the president in APC. He has declared openly he will support the presidential ambition to return President Bola Tinubu.
Well,
that
the
is
people
politics.
in the state are saying speak for yourself.
Wike that is doing so well in Abuja, undeniably. Some don't even know which party he belongs to. He's officially in PDP, serving in... so these are issues. So for politicians, you cannot trust them. In fact, the prominent ones amongst them have moved to about 3 or 4 parties if you are tracking. So I'm talking about governance here. These gaps are there. And the National Assembly can amend our laws. You see, what about going back to amend the Electoral Act that, to the extent that if you are being challenged by the law enforcement agencies on some malpractices, you cannot even function here, you cannot function here, you cannot function here, like we have in some other countries.
Yes. And this is a very valid position because, like you said, Section 36 sub 5 has always been the bane of the argument. When there is an allegation and then there is an appointment thereafter, they will say, but no court of competent jurisdiction has pronounced this person guilty. I recall as recently as the case of the Baja Gate, not too long after, President Bola Tinubu named him the chairperson of the State Police Implementation Committee. And the question was, is this man not under investigation? Did he not just come under fire for the allegations being leveled against him? We don't know the conclusion yet, but he's in the thick of the storm. And the pushback was Section 36, subsection 5. So that's a very valid suggestion that you've raised. But let's talk about, I want us to go back now to individual figures. And so that people understand why Nigerians are raising dust about why a person like Zacch Adedeji, serving chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service, looking at him in his position as Deputy Director of Fundraising. Deputy Director of Fundraising in the APC Council, then Chairman of Revenue Service. Please explain to us the political implication of that and why people are raising eyebrows at that name, for example.
In public relations, you talk about public opinion, you talk about feedback, and I think from this feedback, APC should reconsider this list. We are talking of Zacch Adedeji as fundraising. On the scale of Deputy Director for Fundraising for the forthcoming elections. So on the scale of perception, in the minds of the people, he is now to gather our tax and give to this party. Or go after companies, those who should pay taxes, harass them because he has the authority to mobilize money. I think it's a political error. It's a strategic error. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Is it an error or is it a show of nonchalance on the part of the ruling party?
I'm qualifying it as an error now against my earlier statement that I hope this list will be withdrawn. In this country, we have seen the list of political appointees having the names of dead people in it, and they say, we are withdrawing it and things like that. So I'm assuming now that maybe the president, even though he is also listed there, is not fully aware. You recall the case of the state pardon granted recently,
yes.
And he was embarrassed. Recently, when the EFCC chairman moved to Osun to, clamp down some of the state's accounts, he said he was embarrassed. He said it should be reversed. So maybe this may be one of the reversals. But we are saying now that test this thing from the response of the people. Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it states clearly that the security and the welfare shall be the primary purpose of government. It's all about the people. The same section 14 says that sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom the government derives authority. So if the people are responding, and on the scale of corporate governance and conflict of interest and ethical leadership, it's an obvious thing. And that's why many people are still doubting the efficacy of the state police proposal. That won't it be hijacked by some to now begin to carry out political? So I think it should be reconsidered. And if not reconsidered, please, I want to advise the APC to go and do a clinical study of what happened in Osun about 2 weekends ago, because even before that election, off-cycle election, many said it was going to be a litmus test for the forthcoming 2023 elections, where, despite the fact that about 16 governors from other states, decided to move to Osun State, about 30 commissioners of police were drafted to Osun State and differently. People came out and said, we will vote for our candidate, despite the threat of death, and even though people were killed even before the election. So let's learn from all this. We shouldn't do things that will deepen the distrust. Globally now, we're in an age of distrust. So, and when you talk about the standard, the global standard of elections, it should be free, fair, transparent, and credible. And what's the meaning of credibility? Trusted. And when you talk of the credibility of an election, it does not start on election day. It starts before the election day. Just like I advise in project management, a project doesn't fail midway. It fails from the onset because you are expected to have calculated, done your risk assessment and everything. And that is why I make reference to wars at the global level. Before America goes to war, they've envisaged what are the likely, and that is why sometimes it's so easy for them to rescue their citizens that are caught somewhere, because they have envisaged that this may happen, that may happen. So these are issues of concern.
Just before we go, Barrister Ologun, let's talk about the portfolio and the responsibility of it. I mean, seeking re-election is serious business, and I think in all seriousness, Mr. President must have given deep thought into the individuals that constitute this committee, because he really wants to win a re-election. And these individuals are in current active portfolios that are that take equal seriousness. For example, the Minister of Defense that will be in charge of the Security Committee. Nigeria is currently the 4th most terrorized country in the world. You also have Governor Dr. Abiodun in Ogun State, which is dealing with lots of issues. The roads there are terrible. You also have the Director of Policy and Manifesto, Mr. Dele Alake, who's the Minister of Mines in Nigeria, of solid minerals, I beg your pardon. So is it possible for individuals to function in both capacities with utmost seriousness? Because Nigeria is already playing catch-up on so many issues, and then you're dividing their attention.
That is the assignment I have given to the National Assembly. For academic purposes, all those names you have mentioned are political appointees. They are not in the public service that you can classify as non-political government workers. So these are political government workers, appointed. And that is why I expect that the National Assembly, if the intention of having it is to establish peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria, should look at it. Remember an election that took place in Kogi State, where a candidate who was coasting to victory died at a crucial moment that was not envisaged by the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act was amended to cover that lacuna. Laws are made for the people and not the people for the law. So you can keep amending.
But the National Assembly is an APC majority National Assembly. You expect?
See, you know what I say? You know what I say? If you don't fight for justice when you have the opportunity, you may become the victim of injustice when you are out of that office. And it's as simple as that. Let's look, and that's what the Constitution says in Section 1, Constitution of Nigeria. It's all about Nigeria, not about the party, not about the persons in the party. We need to understand this. It's about governance, and good governance for that matter. You see, so we are, I hope that this will be given a consideration. But like I said, please go and study what happened in Osun State. You know, sometimes some actions even annoy electorates.
Yeah.
And I predicted it, that with all those forces, you know, galvanized against the incumbent governor, that he may fly on the wings of sentiments and you know, and sympathy of the people. That what's the big deal? That this is our state, and that is what happened. And Nigerians have held that. In fact, the dialogue now is that the Apache many people were concerned about, they have been rolled away by the Osun election.
Since you speak about Osun election, one thing I would draw from Osun in comparison, Osun's gubernatorial campaign council and the presidential campaign council, is the fact that Osun had more members. It was a 276-man campaign council, while this APC presidential campaign council is 223-person structure. Judging from all that you've seen, now we've highlighted the things that are wrong about the campaign council. Are there any things that stand out to you as being right, that the APC, you say the APC has gotten right?
The APC is always ahead when it comes to organization. I give that to APC. Right from the moment that APC came up in 2013, they got the leadership right, because at that point in time, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed, who was one of the major arrowheads, could have insisted, I will be the presidential candidate. But they didn't do that. They got their public relations right, got the leadership synchronized, got the message right. Corruption, you know, corruption, let's fight corruption. And then, brilliantly, the incumbent president was thrown out of office, you know. And then, when it comes to managing cohesion, I give it to APC. But now, APC is at the point of saturation, like we say in...
law of diminishing returns.
Exactly. You know, that because in the Osun election, many chieftains of APC were disgruntled before the election, that the party has been hijacked. And we said it, that with the governors defecting to APC, they were defecting with their interest and their followers. And if they don't get the desired space within the party, they are likely also to begin to shake the table. So, and I just want to advise, I tell our children that there are two stages, you know, in education. The stage of opportunities, when you are attending lectures, preparing for your exam. Then the state of the real action, when you are in that exam, and that takes you to the third stage, the result. And that's why I'm advising, go and study your Osun election. Nigerians are waiting. They are discussing what is of utmost concern to them. And I'm talking of the majority of the citizens. They are talking about hunger. They are talking about the harsh economy. They are talking about the impact of the fuel subsidy removal and the absence of suitable alternatives to cushion that impact. They are talking about issues. So it may end up being a test of performance and not of political promises. You know, because in the Osun State also, I mean, we did our research, and indigenes pointed to things the governor has done, even though they labeled him as a denization, that he has done more for Eden. But that is his base. That is a global thing in Nigeria. If he didn't do that, his people will fight him to, you know, so this, you see, let's move from politicking to good governance. And it will reduce the desperation and the waste of resources.
Well, that's a very interesting charge. I wonder how we're going to go through with that charge, especially now that campaign season is officially open. Governance is usually pushed to the back burner when campaign is open. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, always a pleasure to have you.